Thanks for listening to our podcast, Living Life with the Rogers. My name is Cameron.
And I'm Kira, and this is a lifestyle podcast where we talk about hashtag all the things. Listen in.
Hello, listeners. We are excited to bring you a new podcast and a new topic altogether. And so, Kira, I think it's fitting if you introduce it.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say I'm a little bit sad to be back in my closet because recording at Simplexity was baller because A, they had microphones that actually picked up my voice most of the time, but it was my fault when I pulled off the microphone to look at everybody else. And they had leather chairs. I'm back in my plastic IKEA chair and hurts my butt a little bit, not gonna lie.
So for those that don't follow our Instagram channel yet, Living Life with the Rogers family, we were invited to a podcast called Simplexity, hosted by Lighthouse Church. So we had the privilege of going in studio, sharing our church hurt story, and we had such a great time. It was such a blast with Boots and Sammy, so go check that out. But yeah, back in the closet. I mean, what do we have? I have my shorts are on the ground. I mean, there was about like 10 items of clothing that you had on the ground. And so, yeah, it feels like home, right?
Yep, and we have baby on the outside, so I'm holding her, so if you hear a little squeak, don't be alarmed. It's just a small child.
That is baby number 4 is out and has entered the world. So she is actually part of this podcast today. So we'll see if we can get a little her feedback about her delivery story. But yeah, Kira, kick off a little bit about our topic today.
All right, so we're going to do a little bit of a birth story here. This is my last one, so this is the last time you have to hear me say a birth story. I used to, with the first couple, I would blog it because back in the heyday, you know, Callie's 8 now, blogging was popular, but that's kind of out now, so that's why we're moving to the podcast format. So we're going to record it instead of typing it. But I was induced with Zoe because today is officially my due date. But I was
Congratulations.
Thank you. But I was induced last Thursday, so 5 days before my due date. And most people are like, oh, was it like medical reasons or, you know, were you starting labor? And I was like, nope. So my doctor, he was going on vacation starting on Friday. And he has missed, I've been with him for like 8 years, maybe 7 years. I don't know, a long time. And he has missed all of my deliveries for one reason or the other. And so he really wanted to be able to deliver this one since it's my last baby. So he was like, all right, listen, how about I just induce you Thursday morning before I go out of town? Like, are you down? And I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, you're like, get this baby out of me, please.
Mm-hmm. And I was induced with Zoe as well, but we were sent home because the hospital was booming during that time. They were like, some of the nurses weren't in because they were like figuring out pay stuff. They were short on beds. Another hospital was sending all of their women in labor to our hospital. So we got kicked home and then had to like come back that night when a space freed up for me. But fortunately that did not happen this time. I checked in at 5:45 a.m. and Christine, who's the charge nurse down there, hooked me up again and gave me a nice big labor suite. So that was awesome.
Yep, plenty of room for fun activities.
And the fun began. So as soon as you get in there, the pain starts with the IV in your arm. And then the pain doesn't stop from there.
So I want to have a quick question as we kind of walk through your story and kind of have some conversations about delivery and all that fun stuff. First question for you is, I feel like you were hitting fatigue in the pregnancy as far as everybody. There's a lot of people that were nice to you and approach you. Oh, what do you do? What do you have? But being around you a lot, I noticed like you're answering the same questions over and over and over again. What ideally would somebody say to you if they approached you and saw you pregnant? What would you have appreciated if they said this to you?
Nothing.
If they just ignored you.
I just don't really I don't get it because it's like there's so many pregnant women. Like you see pregnant women all the time, but like why? Like I just don't know why people want to. Then they ask the same questions. What are you having? When are you due? And it's like I don't get the fascination. Like, what's the fascination? Like, I'm pregnant. You see pregnant people all the time. I don't really understand. So, honestly, it's just like, unless you're just, like, I had some ladies at the gym that would be like, you're so inspiring, or you look awesome. I will take a compliment all day long. You know, whatever you want to tell me, I'm down. But the questions, it's like, can we just not? Like, just move along.
Oh, first squeaks from baby number 4. So yeah, so I think that's actually a good point. Is ask about the mama, how she's doing and stuff. I think that's maybe that's what you feel is a little frustration. You just feel lost in the fold of like, okay, I'm producing a baby, and everybody forgets about poor old mama. So yeah, tell a little bit more. So you're at the so we're in this nice labor and delivery room. You're starting to get all plugged up with IV shots, all that a whole 9 yards, and I'll let you kind of carry it on from there.
Yep. So then they started pitocin, and they started like gradually. So that process is a little boring, not gonna lie, because you're just like waiting. So like from 6 a.m. to like 11 or 11:30, there's like nothing happening. Like you're not in pain yet, so you're not having to breathe through contractions. You're just like waiting for your vagina to open up.
It's like waiting for paint to dry.
It is. It's boring. So I was just like playing on my phone, like doing whatever. So then at 11:30, my doctor came in and he's like, "Hey, let's break your water." And I'm like, "Yes, let's go," because typically once my water's broken, then things move along pretty quickly. So I was like excited to see him. I was like, oh, thank God. I've been sitting in this bed for 5 hours. I had gotten up like once or twice to go to the bathroom, and that was like the extent of my movement. So I'm like, sitting in a bed for 5 hours is like torture. So he went ahead and broke my water, and then I assumed that she would be born like within the hour, because that's what happened with all my last ones. But then we were chilling for a little bit again.
Yeah, it was like roughly like 3 hours.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of the epidural, so I was like, man, should I get the epidural before they break my water? Because I was like nervous that once they broke my water, I was gonna go from, because I think I was at like 4 centimeters. So I was nervous that I was gonna go from like 4 to 8, and once you pass 6, you can't get the epidural. So I was like nervous that I wasn't gonna be able to get it. But the contractions got steadily worse, and then I think around, what time did I get the epidural? It had to be like maybe an hour before she was born.
It'd be about like 1.
Yeah, so like 1-ish. I was like, okay, these contractions are getting like pretty legit. Like, let's go ahead and do the epidural. Well, the epidural was quite painful. Again, pain.
It was like a backstab fest.
So I don't know what it was. She just could not. She found the spot on my back, but then when she was go to get the needle in, she just couldn't get the right spot, I guess. So it was just like she was like sewing my back. Like the needle was like in and out, in and out, in and out. So that was a 20-minute process, and it was very painful. I hum when I'm in pain, and I was humming a lot.
Well, to her defense, she stuck with it, and at the end of the day, didn't you say that was one of the probably best epidurals that you've experienced from the fact that it took a lot of the pain away from the contractions? And
yeah, with the Callie's birth, it was good, but the last 2, I was only numb on half of this. Like my half of my body was numb, so I still felt, the other half. So that was
you're like, which side of your body would you not want to experience pain? And then the other half's going to be double the pain.
But this lady stuck with it. She was like determined, and it worked because I could tell. So then once the epidural was in, they pumped up the Pitocin, and I was numb, but I could tell that the contractions had gotten a lot stronger, but the epidural completely took the edge off. Like I was having to breathe through contractions previously to manage the pain, and then as soon as I had that epidural, I was like, okay, we got this. So I'm grateful that she stuck with it, but it was very painful.
What's going through your head while you're waiting? So I mean, from a male perspective, I'm sitting there going, okay, and this is what I've never understood about women is like, how do you do this multiple times? Like, I feel like the first time I would deliver a kid, I'd be like, I'm never doing this again. It's torturous. It's a lot of pain. It's craziness.
I think you just really have to love, like, I just love babies. So I'm like, man, in the end, it's always worth it. But, like, if you're not a baby person, no. Like, that's why some people just have, like, 1 or 2 because it's, like, it's not worth it. But, like.
But what's going through your head while you're waiting?
Well,
knowing that this is your 4th kid, so you know what's coming on the horizon.
So I think women handle labor differently. I like to kind of just go, like, within myself. So I like to feel like I'm in control. Like, I do tell myself, like, especially before the epidural and the contractions were getting painful, I was telling myself mantras like, it's going to sound so feminist, but I was saying over to myself, like, I'm a strong woman. My baby is safe. I will deliver this baby. Like, I was saying mantras in my head, and like basically things to pump myself
I don't
up.
need my husband. I can do this myself.
I
He
mean,
did this to me. I'll make him pay.
And I always tell myself, like, every contraction takes me closer to baby, because sometimes it just feels like, "Ugh, how many contractions am I going to have to ride before this baby comes?" So I go like I find like strength within. It sounds so gay.
No, but it's
But
good.
yeah, instead of like, some people really like to lean on, like their partner. They want to be like someone massaging their feet, their back. Like, people cope in different ways. I don't want anybody to touch me. Like, Cam was like rubbing my hair, and I was like, please stop, you're messing up my good hair day.
I wasn't thinking, like, my factory go-to is to just like, okay, rub your shoulders, rub your hair. And then I was like, I complimented you earlier. You're having a great hair day. And then I'm like, just subconsciously, I'm petting your hair. And I'm like, I'm ruining I told you that. I said, I'm messing up your hair.
Yeah, I was like, quit touching my hair, would you? I do like squeezing your hand. Like, when I was getting the epidural, I was squeezing his hand a lot, and that helped, because it's like, it is nice to have somewhere for like the pain to go instead of just having to like sit there and take it. So that kind of is like an expression of the pain.
Well, I like your point in this, is that having these, mantras kind of to encourage you to keep yourself motivated. And then I was going to ask you, I was like, what ideally, because I haven't always gotten it right, but what ideally would you have hoped that I do in that process of contractions and waiting for baby to come?
Yeah, and we talked about that going in. I was like, I'm going to want your hands during the epidural, because that hurts like a son of a bee. And then when I'm actually pushing, again, like, I don't know, you black out a little bit, but I'm just so like focused that I honestly don't even know what you're doing. Like, I don't even notice that you're
Were
there.
you even there?
Because I'm so like, I'm in so much pain, so that makes you black out a little bit. And then also, like, I'm just like focused on, like, I'm going to focus on the goal, and we're going to get it done. So I'm just like in the zone. So I think the only thing that which you did was just letting me squeeze your hands during the epidural process, because that's painful.
And I've always said going into it, I'm like, my only job is to not take the attention off of you. So don't pass out. Don't do anything stupid. Don't get in the way. And if I can follow those rules, then we'll be just fine, right?
Yep, because sometimes you have to hold a leg when I'm pushing, but we had so many people in the room this time that you didn't even have to do that.
No.
So that was nice. But yeah, so then I guess, so it was getting close to 2:30. I could feel, like, it's so wild, like at the end, you feel the contractions moving the baby down like inch by inch. It's so weird. And then you get to the point where the baby's there ready to come out, and you're like, okay, I have to push. It's time. So
it's like having a massive diarrhea that you just
Exactly.
know it's going to come
It's
out.
coming out.
There's nothing you can do about it.
I mean, but the body's doing its job, right? Like, it's expelling this thing that you're trying to get out of you. But then I guess I wait too long to tell everybody that I'm ready to push, because inevitably, whenever I am ready to push, there's nobody in the room, nobody to be found. So I called on my thing saying, hey, I'm ready to push. And some nurse popped in. It wasn't my nurse. And she calls my nurse. She's like, hey, your patient's, well, she used a word, must be like a nurse's word for time to push. I don't know. I'm not smart. Your patient's
Well, I just
flush.
saw her eyes light up because she
Yeah.
came in there and she's like, yeah, what's going on? You're like, I'm ready to push. And then she saw what I saw, which is like, yeah, this baby's coming now.
Yeah,
And
you could
her
see
eyes
her.
just got really big. And she's like, all right, I'll get people.
So then they called my doctor, they called my nurse, like everyone just starts like rushing in. My doctor, I guess he was on campus or like on property, but he was over on the other side of the hospital because he was seeing patients in his office. So I guess he had to run over. So he gets over and he can't get his gloves on because his hands are like sweaty. And then all the nurses are stressing that he doesn't have booties over his shoes. They're like, where's his booties? I'm just like, guys, I'm holding this baby and these contractions are insane. I'm feeling them at this point because they're just that strong. and everyone's just like running around. So there was like maybe 2 or 3 contractions where I had to hold her in again.
Yeah, and I remember I kind of told you this. I said, if you got to push, I'll catch it. I mean,
Yeah, so I did end up like pushing a little, not like a full blown, but I was pushing just because when you get to that end point, it's so hard to control the pain and the contractions. It's like you just have to, your body, it helps with the pain to push. So I was like pushing a little bit, not like full on. So then finally he like got over to the table and they're like, okay, go. And I started pushing and her head came out right away. But her cord, I guess, was wrapped a little.
or I think they were just trying to get past the shoulders and all that too.
So I had to stop, they cut the cord. And then I did one more push, and she was the rest of the way out. So it was like super fast, which I'm grateful for.
Well, that was crazy because now this is our fourth, so I've been there for each one. I remember first one, the contractions were bad, and you would kind of push and push and push and get nowhere. And then here, number 4, it's like 2 pushes and you're out. So it's at least the good Lord was looking out for you over the years.
Yeah, then we get to postpartum. They're like, oh, her face is a little bruised. I'm like, yeah, that's because I was holding her in the birth canal. Poor thing was like smashed up in there waiting to enter the world.
The poor thing's like, Mama, you're hurting me. Yeah. Mama.
Well, that's because she was stuck in there for like 10 minutes while everybody was getting their gloves on and God knows what they were doing.
So what's the behind the scenes like? Now, okay, so I asked you what was going on in your head during the contractions and the multiple hours. So you're saying you had like mantras in place. What about when you're actually ready to push? What's going on in your head? Do you just go into beast mode?
Yeah, you black. Like it's fuzzy. It's weird when you try and think back on it because you're like, I kind of remember, but I kind of don't. I think you literally like black out a little bit. But I mean, whenever I go to push, I grab my knees and I push as hard as I physically can. And usually, like I said, they pop right on out, but like you're shaking because it's just I mean the pain is just, and this is with the epidural, so like I could even feel it with being completely numb. So it's just I don't know, I don't even know how to describe it. You just black out a little bit and you just do it, and then the relief when the baby comes out, you're like, oh thank God. And then you ended up doing skin to skin with her because I was getting stitched up, and of course, I could feel that. And they try and give you like a Novocaine. Is that what it is? Novocaine shot?
A lidocaine.
Lidocaine.
Yeah. Close enough.
Yeah, with Novocaine. Is that for your teeth?
I mean, there's a lot of canes out there. Well, the funny part is you actually got to see your placenta this time. That was kind of fun.
God, yeah, I saw that come out. That thing is massive. I didn't realize it was so big.
I said, we'll just keep it, put it on the grill, a little Worcestershire sauce,
Ew.
and a little melted butter, and you'll be good to go. Eat that puppy, and could you imagine the nutrients for your body? Right?
Yeah, I'm sure. But you got to do skin to skin because I was in pain again for the like 5th time while I was getting stitched. He tried to numb me and it just didn't work. I was like, let's just, at that point, again, you're so close to the end, you're like, let's just get this done and start the recovery. So you got to do skin to skin with her and give her first bottle, which was nice.
That's actually, well, that was another thing too. You've breastfed all 3 kids, and then number 4, and I was with you. I was super supportive of this. I was like, all right, let's go with formula. That way I honestly, okay, I'm not gonna lie. Let's be honest. This is honest closet here. I was hoping you were gonna breastfeed because that means I don't have to do the feedings. But ultimately, I knew formula was the right decision for us and for the family. So for all you mamas out there, it's okay. It's fine to go with formula. And let's be honest, the pro of that is you get your spouse's support, right? So they can step up and help you feed the baby, and you can actually get some sleep and rest after the crazy delivery experience.
Yeah, I think you just have to do what's best for you. Like I didn't enjoy breastfeeding. It was a burden to me. So it was like, all right, we have this great alternative that's super, it's more than healthy and fine for the baby. So if I could enjoy my postpartum experience more, like why wouldn't I take that option? Because I did, with each kid, it got shorter and shorter because I just realized that I just did not love breastfeeding. Like my favorite thing to do is just snuggle babies and have them sleep on me. And so I want to spend a lot of my time doing that because she's so little now, but I mean, in a blink of an eye, she's not going to be this little anymore. So, how can I best enjoy my postpartum experience? And for me, that was by using formula.
Yep. So baby's here. And then that leads us into the recovery, right? So they ship you over to the other side of the hospital to the recovery side. And so, what's recovery feeling like? Like, what's your body going through an hour or two after the epidural's just about kicked off? You finally, actually, let me interrupt myself. You get your post-delivery meal, and can you tell the audience what that meal is?
A turkey sandwich.
Out of all the and now, given we're ordering from the cafeteria,
Yeah, their
so
food blows overall, so it's like the turkey sandwich is like the one thing that like
I mean, that sounded a little bit like a hater. Like
I don't think
it's a
it's good.
cafeteria. So curb your expectation, right? You're like, yeah, can I have the sirloin steak with a vintage wine pair? It's like, no, no, no. You're at a cafeteria. For cafeteria food, it's fine as long as you know what to order, right? So order your turkey sandwiches, order your chicken tenders. Keep it simple, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had a flatbread this time, and that was not very good. But anyway, the turkey sandwich
Hater.
I like actually enjoy. I'm like, this is a good sandwich. The other things I'm like, I'm just getting it down because I need food, and it's my insurance is paying for it, so I might as well take it.
So after that delicious turkey sandwich, which we need to stop having these. I can just make you a turkey sandwich at home, right? We don't have to go to the hospital for that. But you go to recovery, everything's starting to wear off. Kind of what does your body feel like? What's
Yeah,
going on in
so
your head?
it's a little humbling at first because the first walk to the bathroom, your legs are shaky, and then the nurse has to like help you sit on the toilet, and she's like, you're very bloody, so she's helping you get cleaned up, getting the ice packs, getting the pads. So it's a little bit of like you've just went through this like humiliating experience of being spread eagle in front of 6 people and having everyone like staring at you, and then you get to have a nurse help you clean yourself up. So it's a little, especially for some coming from someone who doesn't like help, it's a little like, oh, but I just grit my teeth and do it. And then I have to ride in a wheelchair over to postpartum, which I hate also. Like, nothing makes me feel more weak than sitting in a wheelchair. Anyway, but yeah, then you get it over to postpartum, and it doesn't immediately get better. Maybe that's the one thing I'll share, because then you're just very sore. They're pushing on your stomach to make sure that your uterus is coming back, getting smaller again, and they're checking your bleeding, they're checking your blood pressure. I mean, it's just like pretty much the 24 hours after giving birth are like not much better. It's still pretty painful. You're still bleeding, you're still sore, all the things. So you're just doing your best to get through it. You can take painkillers though, so that's the plus. Got to take a lot of Motrin and a lot of ibuprofen for the first 24 hours after, which was great. And it was funny because this time around I noticed my ankle was sore. I was like, what the heck's that about? I think it's because the epidural was so strong when I was pushing. My ankle must have been at a weird angle, so I had to work through that. And then my back, I mean, I couldn't even feel my vagina pain because my back pain was so strong from the epidural situation. Like, it felt like I had broken my back. So I was like, I feel like I'm in the hospital for a broken back, not for delivering a baby.
Because we were in recovery, and I'm used to, you would expect, the vajayjay to hurt. You would expect, like, the normal stuff. And you're like, my ankle, you sound like just like a grumpy older person. My ankle's hurting, my back's hurting. I'm like, what is going on? But I think the blessing of it all is that it was at least something different, and the other pains that could be horrible weren't too bad. Is that, I hate to say that. I mean, it's still excruciating, but
yeah, I mean, hey, my vagina did a great job recovering, so good for you, vagina.
Yeah, good job there, vajayjay.
Thanks for your
Nice.
service. You can retire now.
Yeah, like, do I have to write up like a little retirement letter for it and just be like, you've pushed yourself to success.
I mean,
the sky's the limits with you. Congratulations
hats
on
off
your retirement.
to you. The way that you've delivered 4 kids and healed beautifully every time.
Yeah.
Like, wait, look at the resilience on there.
We're so proud of you. We have like a whole big ceremony. Everybody, come on over to our house next week.
The girls made us a poster when we came home, which was like so cute, and on the bottom it said, "Good job giving birth." I was like, "Thanks, babe."
Yeah, that's very, very comforting.
But yeah, so just have the expectation that it's still going to be rough, and even like a week up to postpartum. Like, I'm day, I guess, 5 now. I'm doing so much better. Like, each day it gets a little bit better, but I think I remember as a first time mom, like, I had the expectation, like, okay, I'm going to give birth, and then like afterwards it's, it's not going to be as painful, but it's the pain levels are still pretty high there for a little bit. So just have that expectation that it just takes time for your body to kind of recover from the trauma that it just experienced.
Well, one thing I wanted to highlight that I think we started doing this like subconsciously, and then now we've made it a practice with each baby, is we take the time in the hospital in between the times where obviously you're getting checked on by a nurse, to have conversations about our family, to debrief over things, how are we going to raise this one, or how are we going to do our nighttime routine, how, like, things that could potentially lead to fights later on when you're sleep deprived and exhausted. We have those conversations, right? So take advantage. I mean, it's kind of boring in those recovery rooms, to take advantage and have productive conversation.
Yeah, we took advantage of the time on Friday before they discharged us because I was feeling a little bit better, and we had some downtime. We're just snuggling the baby, so it was good. Yeah, kind of like get on the same page before we go back to the chaos of all these kids. So that was nice to have, and it was nice to soak up that time because I was trying to be in the mindset of like, this is the last time you're going to do it, and there's just a lot of little sweet things that you do end up missing. So I was really trying to like soak that in this last time so that I wouldn't be so depressed when I left.
Can we talk about your love for that bed, the recovery bed?
That is my only complaint about GBMC, is that the postpartum bed is not comfortable. Like, there's this divot like in between where the top bed meets the bottom part, and it's like I get stuck in it, and like I already have so much like pain and pressure in my pelvic area, and then I feel like it puts all the more pressure on it because I'm like stuck in this divot. So that is honestly the reason why I don't stay in the hospitals longer, is because I hate the bed. So I only try and spend one night in it if I can.
So it's good motivation to get out of there.
Yep.
So now let's fast forward. We've recovered or started the recovery process, and we had the chance to head home. So share with the listeners a little bit about coming home with the new baby.
Yeah, the girls were sweet. Of course, they were waiting outside. They like ran to the car. Everyone wanted to say hi to her. And then we came in, and they had made us a poster that was really sweet. It said "Welcome Home," and they had a bunch of little things drawn on there. They even had like a place for Zoe to put her art, and she put like some stickers on it, which was cute. And then they had made some cookies, and then they took us down to the basement, and Callie and Abby had planned a performance, so they wanted to put Delaney in her little swing, and then we all sat on the couch and watched their performance, and Zoe just toddled around per usual. did her thing,
usual Zoe thing.
Yeah. But it was cute. They put that on for us, and they were just so excited. Even they had come to the hospital earlier that morning, and they were, especially Abby, like she's just been wanting to hold her all the time. She's really stepped up her game, and of course Callie's, to be expected. She's always been a great little mommy number 2, but and then she's doing pretty well. Like, she kind of just pays her no mind. She'll bring us like a baba or a bottle if she's crying, but she's kind of just indifferent to her, I would say. She's not doing bad. She's not doing good.
She just seems like she just leveled off a little bit. Like, she's like, do we really have to keep this thing here? Like, all right, this is fun. Can we kind of send her back to the place where you got her, right?
Yeah, a little bit. It's almost like Zoe has a little bit of like postpartum depression.
Yeah. And you know what? That's what I loved about the hospital. There was 2 things that I loved, is that they checked in on the mother about your husband. How's your spouse treating you, right? And then the other thing is they're very big on the postpartum, and so we kind of have conversations about it. We check in with each other and go, hey, how are you feeling? I'll even ask you, like, how's your mental health? And I've shared my story with mental health in the past. So it's so important to talk. Do you have any other pointers on the postpartum and the mental health aspect?
I mean, I was talking about this with a friend the other day, is like, you have to expect a certain level. It also makes a big difference to like which kid it is. Like, first kid is such a big adjustment, so it's, obviously fourth kid, I'm like, okay, I kind of know what to expect. But I guess for like first time moms, I would just say like you have to expect a certain level of like sadness or bitterness, or because like your life it's having a kid is such a huge lifestyle change, and it is so traumatic, and there's so many changes on your body. You're sleep deprived. you're having to look after this human 24/7, which, previously before you were just mainly concerned about you and your spouse. There's so many changes. So there's like expect a certain level, but I think when it persists, so like let's maybe say let's give yourself like a couple months, and then if you're still feeling kind of down in the dumps, sad, depressed, like not like yourself, definitely get some help for that. And then also too, if you feel like I think if you start to have feelings like, I don't want to be a mom, or, my life would be better without this baby, like anything that gets a little bit more serious, I would say more serious thoughts about not wanting, to have your baby, then definitely check in. But expect give yourself a little bit of grace the first month or two, because you're just adjusting to a completely new lifestyle.
And for the husband to listen, right? For the spouse to just listen, even if it doesn't, you're like, I don't understand. Just listen. Just shut up and listen, right? When you were sharing that story, it kind of I don't know why I always go back to this, but Kenny Chesney, There Goes My Life, where he said, like, that's what it is. Like, you bring him a baby and you're like, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. And then, like, 1 week into it and you're sleep deprived, there's not enough coffee in the house, and you're just like, why did we do this? And then you do, your hobbies start to disappear, and you feel like you're starting to lose like your identity a little bit. But the reality is you're just changing your household, you're changing your identity. Now, instead of being married without kids, now you're a mother or a father. And so there is going to be a change. And then, like the song says, then you get so attached to this being that one day you're going to say goodbye to them. They're going to get married or move away or go to college. And then you're going to be like, there goes my life. Like that, it's going to be a hard loss. So there's this process of you're attaching to the child. And that's where those thoughts of like, man, I kind of miss how things were. That's where those thoughts come into play. Give it time, trust the process, stick with it, and lean into it if anything, right? And just enjoy your children. So that leads us into our unpopular opinions. And so thank you guys, listeners, for not sending too much hate mail on our unpopular opinions. But yeah, we'll see if today brings any. So Kira, would you like to kick it off?
Yeah, so mine would be to listen to your body first, doctors second. All the doctors are out there are like, good Lord, what kind of advice is this girl about to give? I just think...
Do we have to put like a disclaimer in here? We do
Yeah.
not authorize it, blah, 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 blah. Like...
Pretty much. I mean, I just feel like, I don't know, you just know your body best because you're the one living in it. And I feel like you have to trust what your body is telling you. Like, I did that the whole pregnancy. Everyone's like, I can't believe you're still lifting the same weight. I can't believe it. But I just listened to my body. Like, there was one time, like, my ab started to cramp or do something. I'm like, all right, guess we're done with bridges. Like, you just have to listen to it and then just move it and take care of it accordingly. So, I feel like they have to tell us like, oh, you can't do any physical activity for 6 weeks. So it must be some kind of like lawsuit or something, Lord knows what. But I just feel like, okay, I kept my body in really good shape leading up to it. So when it feels like I'm healed, then I'm going to get back. I'm not going to stick to this 6 week strict thing. Like, I'm going to start walking next week. And then, maybe in a few more weeks, I'll start with a lighter class. Like, and if your body is saying no, then honor that and stop. But like, at least just try and test it a little bit. And because also too, with the postpartum depression, moving your body, getting fresh air is the best thing you can do for clearing your mental space. So to me, I'm like, don't just because like the doctor says, oh, your body's not ready. You don't know that. My body heals very well, so I'm going to move it a little bit earlier. And then as a result, that's going to help prevent the mental decline, and it's going to help me stay out of the postpartum fog. So we have to like help ourselves. But I think, yeah, just listen to it, trust it, and take care of it. But, don't always just go by what the doctor says.
And I love that point that you make is it's not that we're hating on doctors. I mean, yeah, listen to what the doctor's saying as a guide. Sometimes we treat what doctors say as the gospel, as the end all be all. And it's like, it's a guide. And yes, they have to be very conservative because they're one
'Cause they're gonna
lawsuit
get
away
sued,
from
exactly, yeah.
from losing their practice. So of course they're going to sit there and go, "Oh, just stay away from that. Like don't go back to, because they have to play it cautious. They have to use an abundance of caution." So I don't blame them whatsoever, and that's why I love your point. Listen to your body. Your body will tell you when it's too much, right? Your body will tell you when you're starting to stretch the limits, and respond accordingly.
Yeah. What's your unpopular opinion?
Oh boy. So it kind of follows suit with that, and I'll, in this right, let me just start off by saying, like, as a male, like, do I really have a voice and opinion here? So it's more for just fulfilling the segment than I do feel like I have a voice or opinion talking about a pregnancy, delivery, etc. But going to that, I would say I feel like doctors are a little too heavy-handed on the C-section word and the surgery altogether, and I'm kind of piggybacking off your point here, saying, listen to your body. Don't always abort mission from trying to have a regular delivery and go right to C-section, because there are some doctors and some practices out there that are more concerned about the money they make off these surgeries and than they are about the actual health and benefit and wellness of the patient. So my point is basically to be your biggest advocate and to make sure your spouse is on board with being your biggest advocate. Don't treat the doctor's words as gospel. Don't always assume you have to go to C-section. We were talking to a nurse, and we heard some commotion next door when we were kind of waiting for you to go through your delivery. And the nurse was like, "Oh, yeah, that poor lady's been pushing for 3 hours." And I said, "Well, how long do you let them push?" And she's like, "Well, at 3 hours, we tell them, okay, it's pretty much time to do a C-section, but, we leave it up to the patient." And by God, did that woman, she kept going 3 hours and 45 minutes. Guess what? Baby comes out and all good to go. So I was just sitting there just like, even from the other side of the wall, just being like, man, like how proud. I've never, I don't even seen the lady. I've never, but I was like, what strength. It was just incredible to see somebody just stick with it. Now, there's obviously so many times, and I don't even feel like I need to waste my time, that C-sections are appropriate, right? When the mother's health is at risk, when the baby's health is at risk, it's like, duh, go to C-section, right?
Yeah, and I just think too, so like I've never been through a C-section. I was thankful, I had 4 vaginal deliveries, but the majority of my friends have had C-sections, and it's really just like it's looking out for you. We're not saying like, oh, you're better if you have a vaginal birth than a C-section, but the recovery on a C-section, from what I understand, is a lot harder than just a vaginal recovery. So it's like we're looking out for the women and saying, like, if you can go for a vaginal delivery, like everybody's healthy and safe, then like fight for that, because
Yes.
it's going to pay off for you on the other side. Your body is going to recover, but it's just going to be less painful. I mean, here I am 5 days, and like I was out, hiking with the girls and this and that. It's like, I just feel like it's easier on you if you can advocate for a vaginal delivery. But we do know that we've heard in the hospitals, doctors get paid a lot more money when they do C-sections, and so sometimes they push for it when they really don't need to be doing one. And again, your body knows what it's doing. It's natural for it to have a vaginal delivery, so if you give your body the space and time to get to the point, I think it will deliver for you. And don't feel like you have to force your body to do something that it's not ready to do.
And can I jump in? The couple pregnancies ago, I remember we had the on-call doctor come in, and he was trying to force you into breaking your water, because he basically said, oh, my shift's gonna end soon, and
he was trying to. So
he was trying to start your delivery. He wanted to do your delivery and cash out real
He
quick.
was trying to manually dilate me, which all the women out there will cringe. He was sticking his fingers into my uterus and trying to open my uterus with his fingers, which is just like
was this our first?
Unheard
was this
of.
Callie?
Yeah, it was Callie.
Because I remember just being dumb, being like, I didn't know, like, I was so new to all this. I didn't know what was normal or not. Now that we have the ability of hindsight, I was like, how messed up is that your body was just, okay, it was
taking its time.
Yeah, it's doing its thing, taking its time. And then now looking back, and I'm like, that's my point in this.
Well, also too, yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. That's my point, is that sometimes, and I don't say this all the time because there's a lot of amazing doctors, a lot of amazing nurses, but sometimes they can just make a quick buck. And so you have to advocate, you have to look out for yourself. And it just didn't feel right, right?
Well, if you think, I was just going to say, thinking from their end, like, does it make them more money to get someone in the OR and get somebody out? Or does it, or, me, I was in that labor room for almost 12 hours, just letting my body dilate and do its thing. So I was taking up a bed that they could have had another patient in, making money. So C-sections that you get in and you get out. So it's like, from their perspective, the more C-sections they can do, it makes them a lot more money than rather than having me all day in there laboring and just letting my body take its time to get to the delivery. So
yeah, and I think it's just a checks and balances. By no means are we sitting there saying, don't trust your doctors, don't be a, we're not haters. What we're putting back is that, look, God gave, a mother has so much wisdom, and a woman that has the ability to give birth and go through all that, like, trust yourself. It's incredible that your body can do that. It's incredible that you're what you're capable of. So trust it.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's good. All right, well, that wraps us up on the birth story. This should be the last time that I tell a birth story, which is exciting and also sad at the same time. But we hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have questions about anything that we said, you can find us on Instagram at Living Life with the Rogers Family, and I will check the DMs and comments over there. And we hope you enjoyed this episode.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to Living Life with the Rogers with Cameron and Kira.
You can find us over on Instagram at Living Life with the Rogers Family. We love to post on there, and we will check in on DMs and comments and get back to you guys if you have any questions. And if you would like to hear future episodes, make sure you follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. See ya!